Welcome, I'm your host Lee Adams, and today we have a group of student athletes and a coach that basketball in the South Hills is something that I love, that this team went further than they ever did in the history of the program, so a pretty banner year. We're going to talk about that and all the things surrounding that. Our first guest is the head coach. He's been there for 10 years. Please let me introduce head coach Joe David from the Mount Lebanon High School boys varsity basketball team. Welcome, Joe.
Thanks, Lee. Thank you.
Now, you've been there 10 years.
10 years, yes.
And before then, what was your coaching experience?
Before I came to Mount Lebanon, nothing.
Well,
nothing.
Didn't you do like an assistant?
Oh, yeah. Well, you know, I started with physical therapy and played at Pitt and was trying to get my career going, and was really minding my own business. And Pete Serio moved on our street with Susie McConnell, and Pete had just left Canavan girls and was interested in the Mount Lebanon girls position. And I knew some people and was trying to help him with that position, and he got the position and asked me if I'd help him out. And I said, Pete, you know, I have trouble getting along with my wife, let alone 15 other girls, so I'm going to have trouble with girls basketball. But I had 3 boys at the time and a young daughter, and my boys were 7, 5, and 3, and you know, it gets dark at 5 o'clock at night, and so I took him over to the gym a few times and tried to help Pete out, and really enjoyed it. And you know, girls basketball is different. It wasn't really my cup of tea. I enjoyed being in the gym, but I told him after that season that would be it. And it just so happened that the previous coach left, and I had met the AD and some of the personnel around Mount Lebanon, and they asked me if I'd be interested in applying for the boys position. And next thing you know, I said probably I'd give them 2-3 years, and here we are 10 years later.
Wow, so you never really expected to be here that long?
No, not at all, not at all.
How about that?
Yeah.
Well, you've had such success. How many WPIAL championships? 2 WPIAL
2 WPIAL championships, won 2, we lost 2. 2005 we lost, 2006 we won, and 2009 we lost, 2010 we won.
So 4 out of 10 years you were in the WPIAL championship.
Yes.
Mm-hmm. And the prior year to this year, you had won the WPIAL championship.
Yes.
With your team against Gateway down at the Palumbo. So when you have a great year like that, and you graduate some seniors that were very big contributors, what were your expectations coming into this year?
Well, it was an interesting scenario in that we were so on the radar the year before, where we were probably the highest nationally ranked team ever in Western Pennsylvania. And, you know, so everywhere we went, we would get everybody's best game. I think we made it to maybe 16th or 17th in the country. So the radar was on us everywhere we went, and then when we graduated, Grant, to St. Vincent, Dion and Robert Morris, and then Evan to Wagner. Everybody thought, well, 6'8", 6'8", and Evan Pierce are gone, and now they'll get their comeuppance. But kind of, I knew the core of what we had back, and I thought that would be, pretty competitive, and our expectations are always pretty high, and I think that's. People ask me about, why are the girls and boys programs successful at the same time? And I think, Dory is similar to runs her program similar to us, in that, we have, a lot of discipline, we have a lot of hard work, we have high expectations. And I think that, this year we weren't sure, and we had a couple pieces kind of fall in, and Dylan White came out, and Tim Colina came out early on, and next thing you know, we thought we had a pretty decent core, and you look up and you're 12-1 or 11-1, and we win the section again outright, and rolled on into the WPIAL and into the state. It was a fun year.
Now, a couple of years ago, I remember you playing in the state semifinal against Penwood in the middle of the state. And I think you and I will probably never forget that night, because it was really some kind of game. And this was a Penwood team that went on to win the state, and they were fabulous. I mean, some of the kids on their bench would have been big time players, I felt, in Western Pennsylvania. They were just loaded to bear. And I don't think your team had seen anything like that prior to that.
Right.
And so now, fast forward 2 years later, and you got the same team in the state semifinal. And I remember talking to one of your assistants, Coach Garvey, right after you beat Butler, and he's saying, this is going to be a different deal. This is going to be a different deal going to play Penwood. And it was. And tell me, why do you think it was so different, losing by a big margin a couple of years ago and then beating them in overtime?
That's a good question. I think that we played Penwood in the state semifinals 2 years ago, and really were outmatched. They were so good, it's hard to mimic that type of defensive pressure, that type of athleticism, in Western Pennsylvania. So I made the decision after that game to try to, and I always want to play the better teams. I've always tried to play the best teams around, but we were invited to a couple of shootouts where we played Lake Clifton and Josh Selby, who's the Kansas star, and we played Archbishop Carroll out at the Pavilion in Villanova, and I accepted those invitations. I accepted an invitation to go to the Junior Orange Bowl in Miami, and we played Montverde, who was the 10th ranked team in the country at the time, with loads of Division I talent. But I thought that we really had to see that type of caliber of teams to compete for a state championship, and we did, and we beat Montverde that year, and we beat Lake Clifton, and I think that when you have guys like Luke Hagee and Paul Lang and Evan Eaton and George who have experienced those types of teams and seen those teams, that now we played Penwood, it's a whole other thing. They're just a team that we've seen that type of caliber of team, and I could say to them, you've beaten better teams in the past. And it was a whole other world. Now, they're very, very good. The Oakman kid was fantastic, and he killed us against 2 years ago, and the Brown kid that's going to West Virginia scored, I think it was 10 for 10 against us 2 years ago. But we did a much better job against them, and I thought that we really competed, and I pretty much told them it's going to be a fight. It's going to be a battle, and if you're not ready for it, stay here in the locker room, because when you get out there, I mean, it's you roll your sleeves up. We're going to have to battle, and I was just so proud of the way they did, both against Penwood and Chester, and it was a fantastic game. I was disappointed that more people couldn't get a chance to see that game against Penwood. I thought it was a fantastic game, maybe the best game, one of the best games that I've seen as a coach and had the opportunity to coach.
Well, I'm glad I took the 4-hour trip to Chambersburg to film it, because it is on film and it's on tape, and it was a fabulous game. And I was watching Penwood look at your team come out of the locker room, and I was thinking about, boy, what they're thinking about, because some of those kids were on that team 2 years ago, and they were thinking, we blew them out of the gym. I mean, I think your quote was, it was like a hurricane.
Yes.
And it was. I mean, and it is what it was. And you say you weren't that competitive. You weren't, but you made some adjustments to go play better competition, and that seemed to level the playing field. And I think they were surprised.
Yeah, and I think everybody gets better. Players get better, and coaches get better. And I don't think I coached a very good game, 2 years ago. In that, I think once I saw what I saw, I was able to go back to the drawing board and say, wow, how do we approach this if we see it again? Well, we can't exercise the same types of things that we're doing against pressure that we were doing before. We had to make some adjustments, and I had to learn from watching and from other things, and sit down with the board and figure things out. And I thought that we really handled pressure a lot better, and we did a lot better job in practice all year long, against pressure. And I think it just paid dividends at the end.
I think it's a great point, because you had trouble with their press a couple of years ago, and you were beating their press and making them pay for your press, their press this year.
And that wasn't anything that the kids did wrong. They did what I asked them to do 2 years ago. That's more of a coaching error. And that, I thought what would work against teams around here would work against them, and it doesn't. And so you had to change And we made some couple of changes in our press breakers, which we've used for 2 years now, and haven't had much trouble since.
But it was also hard to mimic that athleticism that you saw. That
very
team
difficult.
was tremendous.
Very difficult.
And I think there was a 6'8" kid that came off the bench that I didn't see anybody in the western side of the state that was as good as he was, and he was on the bench.
Yeah.
So that's how good they were. But interestingly, from a personal standpoint, you grew up in Upper St. Clair. You played at Upper St. Clair. You went on to play at Pitt. And now you're coaching at Mount Lebanon, and you were talking about your kids were 7, 5, and 3, and now, they're growing up, and you decide to make a pretty major move to cross the Mason-Dixon line of Upper St. Clair to Mount Lebanon and move to Mount Lebanon, and now your kid's going to Mount Lebanon. How has the adjustment been?
It's been fine. I grew up in Scott Township till I was 12. My father coached Chartiers Valley High School. A lot of people don't know that. And so I grew up as someone who watched Chartiers Valley basketball. And then my father was an Orthodox priest. His first church is in Terre Haute, Indiana. We moved out there. I watched Larry Bird play at Indiana State for 2 years. And then we moved back to Pittsburgh. And the church's home is in Upper St. Clair. And I was begging for him to move back to Chartiers Valley because I didn't know anybody in Upper St. Clair. So I moved here as a freshman and then went on to Pitt. And so when we came out and I got married and we looked at both Mount Lebanon and Upper St. Clair, I thought there were two very good communities that would, good educational systems and nice places to raise family. We found the house in Upper St. Clair with me being the coach at Mount Lebanon. My oldest son chose to stay at St. Clair, and then the younger two really wanted to come over and play for me and be involved in a more of a family atmosphere. I think that any coach should be able to coach his son. I don't think you want to coach at a certain school and have your son play against you. I think that just creates a lot of problems in the family unit. And so we made the decision that we wanted to move over there, and we did so, and its transition has been fantastic, and you really can't go wrong. I mean, both communities are very, very, very nice. But I'm a mile from my office, and a mile from the high school, and it's been a welcome change.
Well, I talk to some of your kids when I see them around, and I say, "What's the difference? What's the difference?" And interestingly, they tell me Mount Lebanon's more diverse. There's more diversity, which, for people that live in Mount Lebanon, we don't see that. But I guess it's a different perspective coming from St. Clair.
It's huge. I think it's huge. I don't think that you see the type of diversity from a socioeconomic perspective that you do in Mount Lebanon. And people think, you live in Mount Lebanon, it's all well-to-do, but you know as well as I, we have so many duplexes, apartment buildings, and modest living throughout the community that I kind of like that from my children, that they get a chance to see situations where there's not a 2-car garage and in every house that they go to, and it's a little bit different. I think until you experience both, you don't realize that, but it's pretty easy to see when you're in 10th or 11th grade, like my sons are.
You said something about you'd like to coach your son. I think, I was thinking about this in preparing for the interview, and I'm sure you've put a lot of thought into that, because there are, there's advantages and disadvantages of that. And I mean, your son could be all that, and some people would say you're playing him because he's your son. Have you thought through any of that you might run into?
Oh, I'm sure I'm going to run into that. And I think that I have to be true to what I believe and what I see every day. And right now, if anything, it's a disadvantage to be my son. I think I'm that hard on them and that concerned about sometimes what people may say. For instance, in the state championship, I think the best free throw shooter on our team was Justin. But he doesn't play defense that well and is pretty young. But I think if he wasn't my son, when Luke had the blood on him, I might throw him in there to shoot the 2 free throws. But I say, well, if he misses them, I'm going to get ridiculed. Yeah. And so sometimes it's an advantage, sometimes it's a disadvantage. I think the only thing I can do is just look at it from an objective perspective. I have coaches around me that understand the situation, that know that we want to win basketball games with the best players out there. And my sons know that they're going to get what they're entitled to. You know, we say all the time, I tell my team all the time, you reap what you sow. And if you can't do this and can't do that, you're not going to play a lot, whether you're my son or not my son. And I understand that no matter what, if my son was hands down objectively the best player on the team, there are going to be those that are going to question. They're there anyhow. And so this just gives them a little more ammunition maybe to say, well, it's his son and blah, blah, blah. But I can't worry about that too much. I just got to do the best job I can and continue to care about all those on the team and try to treat them, fairly. Everybody gets treated differently, but I try to be fair with them all. But it's going to be a challenge. It's going to be a challenge, and we're going to see how it unfolds. It's not going to be easy, but I think we're going to get through it okay.
Well, that was like a preview, Joe. You have your son, you think he's the best foul shooter, you had a chance to put him in, and you're already thinking that now, and they haven't even really got there yet. So I guess that was the preview of what's to come, but I guess what you're saying is you just have to just do the best in what you see.
Yeah, and I think, my assistants keep, they put a perspective on it too. I ask them, making sure I'm fair, making sure that I'm treating them correctly, and I talk to them all the time about all the players and my sons included. And so I mean, there's not a difference of opinion amongst the whole staff. We all know what they can't do. And I'm not one of those parents that are looking to see, I don't have any delusions of grandeur about what my sons can or can't do. It's going to be up to them. My job is to love them and be there for them. And I think I'm going to be able to do that. And, I tell my parents, and I've said this before in interviews, and I had 40, 50 Division I scholarships. I went and played at a high level, but it got me to 22. So I was 22 years old, which at 47 now is awfully young. And I had to go out and get a job, I had to go out and be respectful. I had to be on time, I had to work hard, I had to get along with my colleagues. And those are things that, in life that we have to emphasize and accentuate versus, hey, he's playing at this school or that school. It goes real quick. I played 4 years at Pitt. It went very, very quickly. And the rest of your life you have. So to me, if my boys learn valuable life lessons, that's probably as important as how well they do and what their statistics are. Because I want them, and how do you, when they say to you they want to come play at Mount Lebanon, and how do you not want them to be a part of, play with Paul Lang? How do you not want them to play and be a part with Luke Hagee and these types of guys who are not only great athletes but great young men? And I think that's a bonus also. So there's more to it than just the X's and O's and the statistics and the basketball aspect of it. And I think I have a pretty good perspective on that.
Joe, you've been here almost every year of your coaching tenure because of the success that you've had at Mount Lebanon and to come on our show. And I almost remember back to that first year when you came to our studio. And now, 10 years later, can you even put in the words how you think you've changed or grown as a coach from then till now?
Well, I think the more experience you have being in different situations, understanding that there's always a couple sets of parents that dislike you, and if you can't accept that as a high school basketball coach, then you shouldn't even be in the business. But you're not going to please everybody, and just knowing that if you're true to yourself, you can look in the mirror and say, I've made my decisions based on what this young man has done, and not based on who his parents are, or what they've said, or what they're talking about you. I think you can get by okay. And most high school coaches will tell you the same thing. It's not an easy job, and you want to be everything to everybody, and you want to be someone. We don't play everybody every game if you can, but you can't. And I'm faced with having to try to win basketball games, and that's what we're going to try to do. It's such an easy decision when playing time comes around. We're with these kids every single day, all year round, and I think sometimes the parents will see their boy come out and do fairly well at the end of a game or score a couple points and say, why isn't he playing? Well, we're happy he scored those points, but we also see him all the time, and we understand what his limitations are. I went out and saw Coach Wooden, as you know, and I've had a relationship with Coach Wooden, and I asked him that same question, and he really, helped me out, and he said, listen, parents should feel that way. Every parent should want their son or daughter in the game. That's just the way they need to be, and you have to accept that you wouldn't want the parent to say, hey, don't play my son, because they love them, they care about them, they want the best for them. And I think sometimes, there's some bumps in the road where some players aren't sure about me or if I care about them or maybe didn't treat them right. But I think when it's all said and done, as they end their careers and they understand me a little bit better, understand what the situation is, and they mature. And I've had players come back and they'll say, yeah, and I understand. I said, you complained about playing time, and you look back at it, what do you think? He said, I shouldn't have been playing. You're right. I didn't work real hard. I didn't work at my game. I just expected to go in there and play because I wanted to play, and my buddies are in the stands, and my parents are there, and they're telling me how good I am, but you got to put the time and the effort into it, and you get, like I said, you reap what you sow.
Now, you've had great success in Mount Lebanon, really taking this team deeper in the playoffs on a consistent basis than anyone really has, I believe. And so when you have that kind of success, and much of what you're doing is working, is it hard to hear people tell you different things on they don't agree with this, you should do that, whether it be assistant coaches or even players, because what you're doing has been working? Is it hard to hear those kind of things?
For me, no. I don't hear that too much. I think I approached coaching as I approach everything else in my life, and I've always tried to work harder than anybody else and put more time in than anybody else, shoot more shots than anybody else, and run more than anybody else. And when I went to physical therapy school, I wanted to be the best physical therapist I could possibly be. And I think when you put that time and effort into it, you're pretty confident about what you believe and what you know. And I think I watch a lot of tape, and when I approach a game, I kind of know what I want. If anything, I don't want a whole lot of input, because I think that I spent the time, unless they were there with me, but most of the time I'm there and I'm watching it, and I kind of understand what I want, and so I don't worry about that. I like to hear it. I tell my assistants all the time, by all means, throw suggestions out, throw this play out, that play out, defense, because it makes me think, and you can't remember everything. And I'll go into games and tell my assistants, hey, don't let me forget about running this play, or don't let me forget about playing this guy in this situation. And sometimes we do forget, and that's our fault. But it doesn't bother me, and I because I've watched games and you've watched games, and we've seen big time coaches fail and make mistakes. We watched the national championship with Kansas and with Calipari in Kentucky, and he didn't call a timeout. He makes a mistake. John Calipari, who coached me at Pitt, he's a great coach, but we make mistakes, and you just have to know that you did the best you can. As a player, you miss shots, and you maybe missed a winning shot, but you got to take the shot. And I'm that guy that would rather take the shot and miss than think about, would I have made it or would I have missed it? So I don't mind making those decisions.
You have one of the biggest coaching staffs around, and it's one of the best dressed for sure, I think. And how do you account for having such a large staff? I'm kind of curious.
You're allowed 2 paid positions, and you're allowed unlimited volunteers. And so I have Tyler Bloomling, who's been with me now for 7 years, and he's coached the JV, and he's been kind of my main assistant these last few years. And George Elias and Bill Garvey have been with me 6-7 years as volunteer guys. We have Joe Ehrman, who was a volunteer this year, and we brought on Bill Boyd, who was new this year for the JV team. And it's just one of those things where I have some people that approach me all the time, and they'll say, hey, I'd love to be part of your program. And I'll say, look, I can't pay you, but if there's something that they can do, and if they're the type of person that I think that the players would benefit from being around, then I'll sometimes bring them around. The hard part is trying to find where they sit, get in a position on the bench. So some sit down at the end, sometimes they sit behind, sometimes they sit on the top. We just spread them around. Sometimes they can't be there, but I'm happy to have them. I think that, when we come to practice each day, I run the practices, but, I'll put certain coaches in charge of certain things. And it's nice to be able to say, hey, Coach Adams, you just watch this kid and make sure he's in his stance the entire time in defense, or make sure he keeps on moving without the basketball, or make sure he doesn't lose track of his guy on defense. And that's just your job. You can't do that if two people are there. So we do a lot of individual type stuff. It helps out.
So only 2 are getting paid and the others are volunteers. I'm wondering did they tell you what's in it for them?
Well, what's in it for them is what's in it for everybody, because what you get paid is not a whole lot, and obviously I don't do this job for the money, and I would do it if I didn't get paid. It's that rewarding, and I think that when you see some of the players, like at the state championship, I was just so touched to see and hear, Andrew Devlin, Robbie Morasti, Nick Sandusky, Adam Potter. I'm forgetting some other guys, but they're all Dave Kleifkin. These are all just great guys that I love and have played, and really put a lot of sweat on the court at Mount Lebanon, and now they're making the trip to State College to be there, for their school, for the team, and for the coaches. And it really is touching and heartfelt when you look and you see a former player, in the stands, and I think that's the reward. That's the fun. We got Adam Potter. Adam's just is a great young man, and graduated from Barron, had a great basketball career there, and was in elementary education. And I said to him, "You looking for a job?" He said, "No, I'm going to divinity school. I want to be a priest." And
Adam
Potter. And that just sends chills through my body that he wants to do something like that. Particularly for myself, my father was a priest, and I know what that entails, and I know what he can give to people down the road. He may not even know right now, but I know he's the type of young man that's going to be exceptional at what he does, and that's the reward. The gold medals and the silver medals and the trophies that go in the case and the drawers, and what I'll take from all this when I leave is the relationships that I've developed.
How important is confidence in the success of a high school basketball player?
I think it's very, very important, and it's hard as a coach to correct, but yet not hurt their confidence.
And that's what I want to ask you. You have accountability and correction, and you have confidence. And some kids, that's very difficult.
Yeah.
So how do you walk that line to keep them accountable, but also knowing that if they don't have confidence, they will not attack the rim, and they will not try to do things that they're capable of without the confidence?
Well, we've had kids over the years that I thought were overconfident, that they thought they were the best basketball player Mount Lebanon has ever seen, and they'd never worked at their game at all. So those kids you have to treat a certain way. Other kids that come out, you can see the lack of confidence that they have. You have to find the positives. And then there are times where you think, well, here's a young man that I think isn't playing well under pressure. And so there, I got to put the pressure on him in practice. So now I'm riding him like crazy because I want him feeling the pressure from me. But in my mind, I'm doing that only because when he gets into a game, I want him to be okay. And I think that certain times like that, you have to be very careful that you don't blow their confidence. And so you wait for a moment that they do some good things and you really over-exaggerate that and really make sure they understand how important they are to you. I think Evan Eaton was a player that way. Evan was a player that I always was concerned about, that I thought when the pressure came, he kind of shied away since he was younger. And I knew that for us to be successful, and we had this conversation after the season, I told him, and I said, for us to be successful, he has to be a clutch guy. And boy, was he, in certain games. I mean, hit the 3 big shots against Penwood. He knocked the 2 free throws down against Chester. And maybe that was all that, me being on him and kind of getting on him a little bit was maybe for those moments at the very, very end. And but he responded really well. But I had to be on him. I had to make sure that he understood that, that every little thing he did he had to be accountable. That if he turned it over in practice, we didn't like that. And so someone like that, maybe I stayed on a little bit more. But then you hope that after the season is over that you didn't do too much to him that affected him in any way from a confidence standpoint. So I think you have to love him at that stage. And, and Evan knows that. I think that, he's going to be a fantastic player at Penn State Barron. And I think that, when he gets different coaches, everybody's a little bit different styles, and he's going to be just fine. But I think it all depends on the player as far as the confidence levels go and how you approach them, and everybody's individual. Some kids you can get on. George Hensler, I could get on George all I want. I think we were okay no matter what. Other players you get on, they really back off. I think you develop that from just being around them all year round and for years. So I know what makes Paul tick. I know what makes Paul Lang go. I know what makes Luke go. I know, what these guys need sometimes. And sometimes it's not the best things in the world, but you got to be that guy because my job as always is to get the most out of each player.
Now this year you did not win any championships, but you got to the state championship game. And I think watching you and talking to you after the Penwood game in the semifinal in Chambersburg, I think that was the happiest I ever saw you. I mean, and rightfully so,
yeah,
Joe, because I was there 2 years ago. I saw the hurricane, and then the hurricane changed, and you put it on them in Chambersburg, and I could totally understand your elation after that game because everybody in that whole gym from Mount Lebanon was thrilled,
right,
and you were overjoyed.
Right. And
so how did you take that, moving on to even a bigger mountain to climb of Chester?
Well, the Penwood game was fantastic, and you get real excited, but it's never about me. Like I said, I've been there. I've done that. I've played it. But for these guys, I mean, this team was probably the closest team that I've ever coached. Okay, they were together. Their chemistry was wonderful, and I've told them that through the season. They worked so hard. They did everything we asked them to do, and I thought they were so deserving of being the first team in the school's history to go to that state championship game, and that's why I was so excited. I mean, I was so excited for them and the opportunity for them to have life-lasting memories of a state championship game and winning the semifinal game against Penwood, and I think that was what my emotion was, and I think that I got a little choked up in the locker room afterwards, and that just feeling that way because the love that you felt for the players and the happiness you felt for them, that they could experience this, is wonderful. For me, now I want to give them a state championship. And so go back to the drawing board and you start working and you're busting your butt, as much as you can for them. And the disappointment when you don't get it is also for them, because I thought they deserved to win that state championship,
Well,
and there was no better team to prepare us for Chester than Penwood.
Penwood,
I mean, you couldn't ask for a better situation, and so I thought that contributed to our success.
Well, they
immensely.
played each other a couple times during the year, and it was single digits. So you're
Yeah.
right; it did prepare you for it. But yet, all the pundits in the state gave you absolutely no chance.
Right.
I mean, double digits, 20+ underdog, and so you go in there. And I remember eating breakfast at the Waffle House up at Penn State, and there was all these Chester people sitting there. And I walked right up to their table, and I said, "Hey, you guys from Chester?" I said, "Yeah." I said, "Well, I'm from Mount Lebanon. And we're playing you guys tonight." "Oh, yeah." And they were talking about their team and how great they were. And I said, "Well," I was leaving, and I was nice to them. But when I was leaving, I said, "Well, I'm gonna promise you one thing." And they said, "What?" I go, "Our guys and our team from Mount Lebanon, they're going to show up. They're going to show up. So, good luck, guys, but we're going to show up because everyone's telling us we don't have a chance, but we're going to show up."
Right.
And not only did you show up, you came within one possession of beating that team.
Yeah.
And, how you must have been so proud of that effort.
I was, and but we didn't go there to lose the game. We went there to win the state championship, and as a coach, you're never sure how many times you'll ever be there. And I just wanted it, for different reasons. I wanted it for Western Pennsylvania basketball. I wanted it, for the kids, obviously, and I wanted it for the suburb type teams. There's many reasons that I thought it'd been a wonderful victory, but it just wasn't in the cards. But we talk about it all the time. I tell the guys before the game that if you go out, give us the best you possibly can give us. Work as hard as you possibly can. Do the best you can. I can't ask for anything more than that. And these guys did that. And yeah, there are mistakes made throughout the game. I thought we lost the game in the first quarter. I thought we didn't play very well in the first quarter. But players made mistakes as they do every game. Coaches and myself make mistakes as I do every game. And it came down to the end, and didn't make a couple plays, but after it was all over, if I'm true to my word, and that if you give us the best, then we could hang our heads high. It was disappointing, but the response to that game, Lee, was unbelievable. The emails, the letters from people all across the state, from athletic directors, other coaches, and the things that they said about our team, it was unbelievable. And I shared a lot of that at the banquet. And people that are just so happy to have been from the suburbs, people that said they can be from Mount Lebanon, and they're so proud of the effort that it was just fantastic. It was just fantastic. I'd love to have seen, had we won, what the response would have been too. But I was very, very proud of those guys. They have nothing to hang their heads about, and we had opportunities. And the game of basketball, it's that way. And when you watch March Madness, during that time, we were playing during that time, it happens to a lot of the teams, and only one team gets to go away, real happy.
Well, I think they were looking. I think all the pundits were looking at Chester's great tradition and all the multiple state championships that they won. But yet, I think they forgot to realize that you just beat a team that was very competitive with them during the year, single-digit competitive with them. And so I think they forgot to see that, but they didn't forget when it came into the fourth quarter and you had a chance to win the game. But I think probably one of the most special parts to me of that weekend was having two Mount Lebanon teams in the state championship. Now, there's not a whole lot of public schools that do that.
No.
I mean, more private, parochial, that they can go get players from wherever they get them. But to take two teams from a suburb of 6 square miles, and where kids only play on that team if they live in those 6 square miles, to have the boys and the girls win their third consecutive state championship, and you come within one possession and win the state championship. I mean, that says something about the basketball program right now at Mount Lebanon, I think, don't you?
Yeah, I think it does. And, it was in the paper that I said that, who would have thought that Mount Lebanon would be the mecca of high school basketball. That wasn't my quote. I said a friend of mine said that.
Oh,
But they
you
didn't
didn't say
put
that.
that part in. It was Joe Rodella. Yeah, Joe Rodella, said that to me, and I said, a friend of mine just said the other day, who would have thought that Mount Lebanon, but they left that part out, and they thought, so I wasn't trying to, but no, it was just an awfully special moment, and that game was an exceptional game. We never, had the ball with the lead. We had the lead a few times, but we couldn't make a stop on defense, and we're guys from Mount Lebanon, and they bring in two guys. They're from Chester, but they played at Malvern Prep. The two leading scorers in that game transferred from Malvern Prep to help Chester win a championship. And I think the Nelson kid, Jameer Nelson's little brother, is a fifth-year senior, petitioned for a fifth year. So I mean, there's people that'll say, well, there's an advantage there, and kids are moving in and moving out, and there's not an advantage in Mount Lebanon. It is what it is. To win a state championship, you got to beat the best teams. And they were 14th or 15th in the country at the time, #1 in the state. We love that. I love that. I love to see how my team does against those teams. One of the biggest disappointments for me was the year before, when I thought I'm getting my team after the Penwood loss prepared for this type of team again, and then we shoot 5 for 22 from the free throw line against NA and lose, and don't get the opportunity to go to see Plymouth Whitemarsh or Penwood again, because that was our test.
Yeah.
And the beautiful thing about this year was we got to take the test, and we did fairly well. Probably A-, B+, A-, but you need a pure A to win to get the whole thing. But it didn't take much away from the game. Like I said, for me personally, it's satisfying, obviously, to win a state championship. But I always tell my guys all the time that I want you guys to walk into this gym years from now and look up at banners and hold your son's hand and say, hey, see that 2010 there, see 2011, Daddy played on that team, and then remember the camaraderie. And I think that's what you remember, not so much the games and things you played.
Right.
And you remember the camaraderie, and I think that's really what the gift is in all this.
It really is the gift. Well, Joe, I just want to thank you for joining us. It's been, this 10 years have gone by like this, and you're still at the helm and have great success at Mount Lebanon. And it's really a pleasure to be part of the Mount Lebanon basketball community, because both of our high school teams, yours and Dory's, are just representing the community in such a fine fashion. And it's really it's a pleasure. And I want to congratulate you on all the success that you've had. And I want to wish you the best of luck in the future, and who knows what the future holds, but you're on a roll, and it's always fun to have you come and talk about the season, because it's always a successful one. So Joe, thanks for joining us, and best wishes to you.
Thanks, and thank you for all that you do. And people out there need to know too that you're just not this guy that has this TV show that interviews people at the end, and you come to every game, you're filming every game, you're the voice of Mount Lebanon basketball on the cable, and when our camera's up there, you probably don't notice, but we hear you.
Oh, you hear me?
We hear you sometimes, and you do a nice job, and you're always there, and not only that, with the Basketball Association, and I'm sure I speak for Dory and everybody else, and we appreciate all your hard work and what you give to us. And so our success is your success. Our success is a cumulative effect of a lot of good people in the community, and we love that. And congratulations on the Penn Hills Hall of Fame. So again, that's a wonderful accomplishment. I was fortunate enough to get into St. Clair, and that's a big deal. It's a big deal, and it's nice to be recognized and from your high school achievements, and you to be congratulated. So hopefully we get that out there so they know that not only are you a good interviewer, but you're a heck of an athlete.
Well, thanks, Joe. So, thanks. It's always great to spend time with you.
Thanks, Lee.
Also joining us for the very, very successful high school boys basketball team at Mount Lebanon High School, two seniors. To my right, a guy that played underneath for the squad this year and really had a whole lot of action underneath the basket, George Hensler. George, it's great to have you here.
Thanks for having me here.
And next to George, on George's right, is the guy, their leading scorer this year, a guy that really played a huge role in the success of this ball club, Evan Eaton. Evan, it's great to have you here.
Thanks for having me.
George, after, coming into this season, did you even expect to start at all?
Earlier in the season, we had like team meetings or a coaches meeting with like an individual player, and Coach David told me earlier in the season that I'd be like the sixth man coming off the bench. So really, I didn't expect to start this season.
But when did you start to start?
Started to start was the third. It was right after the Penn Hills game or tournament. We had our first section game against CV, and I started that game. So.
Now, Evan, after being part of that WPIL championship team the year before your junior year, how did you as an individual approach your senior season?
Kind of approached it with the same goals as we had the year before, as far as like winning Whitfield championship went. And I think everyone who was on that team just tried to use that experience and just use the feeling as motivation for this season.
Yeah, and you know, that's what you would do, right? I mean, you just won the championship, let's do it again, right?
Mm-hmm.
But did you look at the team and say, boy, this is a little bit different team? Were you thinking about that at all?
A little bit, but I was kind of thinking that we were going to be better this year, which it turned out I thought we were, just because I think our team chemistry was a lot better, and everyone meshed real well, and everyone knew that we all had to work hard in order to get a championship here.
Yeah. Now, George, how about you? What were your thoughts coming off that WPL championship the year before?
Well, basically the same thing Evan said. I definitely thought we were going to be better. I mean, there were a lot of guys returning. I mean, and a lot of guys had to step up too. So, I mean, it was just, I just thought we were better and chemistry-wise and all the aspects of that way.
And how hard was it having to play against some of these big guys for you?
I mean, it was hard, but also in the past 2 years, I guarded Grant and Dion, who were just as tall as some of the kids. So, I mean, it was a challenge because of my height, but at the same time, I've been there before and guarded those guys. So.
Now, Evan, Coach David was mentioning to me about how he was really testing you in practice and so forth, and maybe being, I'm not sure if it was like extra hard on you or whatever, because I guess what he was trying to say, I think, is that he wanted you to be ready when it came to crunch time. Now, talk about your confidence level as a basketball player. As you were growing up, you know, did you always have it as a young basketball player?
Probably not as much as I started to during my high school career, because I guess 9th and 10th grade was really when I started to, individually practice my skills like ball handling, shooting, and that definitely helped with my confidence. And there were times that Coach David would say stuff like, I remember 2 years ago he told me, or before my junior year, he said I was going to be playing JV. And I guess some kids would just take that as, all right, I'm a JV player, I'm satisfied with that. But I kind of just used it as motivation to, I guess, add to my confidence. And my confidence definitely went up when I started all the games last year, too.
Yeah, so he tells you you're going to be on a JV team, and you started as a varsity player.
Mm-hmm.
So that had to make you feel good. So you took that as a challenge.
Mm-hmm.
Now, Evan, you play with the ball a lot. You know, you get the ball, and this team really relied on you to score. How important is confidence in being a scorer?
I definitely think it's pretty important, because if you don't have confidence whenever you get the ball, if you don't think you can go around the guy who's defending you, if you don't think you're going to finish at the hoop, then it's just not going to happen.
So do you think that you gain confidence by the work that, or I'm trying to understand what you just said, by the work that you put in, the extra work that you put in?
I think that's probably the majority of it, is the extra work you put in, like in the summer and outside of practices and stuff. But also you can get confidence by others, such as your coaches and stuff, having confidence in you. And I found out they had confidence in me whenever they started me all the games last year, whenever they'd give me the ball this year. So.
Yeah, so that does say it. When you hear you're one of the starting five on this team, that's a statement right there.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. Now, George, you you're one of the more animated players on this team, a player that really likes to have fun and show your emotions. Where does this come from with you?
Well, I mean, I don't know. I think it's just comes from my competitive edge because, I mean, I don't like to lose. I'm always competitive in everything I do. And I mean, it's just how that's just my personality and how I'm like a go-getter and I want us to win every game, so.
Yeah, it's funny because if someone didn't watch you play and they're listening to this interview right now, they're seeing George Hensler, you're just being all like nice and proper and everything. But yet, when you're on the court and you take a charge in front of the Devil's Den, you're like chest bumping and you're like screaming, and it's just a whole different flow for you, isn't it?
I mean, it's definitely like different comfort zones. I mean, when I'm out on the court, I feel as if I'm allowed to be as much as expressive as I can to like the ref's ability. You know, you don't want to get technical,
right.
But I mean, I'm just like. It's just how I handle things, and you know.
Ev, does that rub off on a team at all when George just takes a big charge or scores a big basket and Paul does something and he's like screaming? What does that do to the team?
It definitely brings up like our momentum. I think that was a lot of our game this year was someone takes a charge or Luke gets a steal, Paul gets a dunk, and then it just leads to more and more baskets, good defensive plays.
Now, George, talk about the Devil's Den. What's it like playing in front of them?
Well, it's great. I mean, there definitely can be game changers. I mean, being there helps us, like, you know, you want to perform for your friends more than, say, your family because you see them every day, and I mean, you can talk about the game with them, but I mean, they definitely help with like a lot of games, and they change the atmosphere and everything like that. So
your friends are pretty important to you.
Yeah, I'd say so.
Yeah, and I mean that's just normal in high school. And Ev, do you feel the Devil's Den influence at all, like during home games?
Yeah, definitely. I mean, just with all the chants and stuff, and the best feelings when we come out for those Friday night home games and they're all chanting and stuff. We come out to the music and it's just a lot of fun.
Yeah. Does that pump you up coming out to that music?
Yeah.
What music do you like? What pumps you up?
Probably some rap or some B.I.G.
Some B.I.G. You got the notorious B.I.G. But how about you, George? What music gets you
Beyonce
bumping?
I'm more of a techno guy because I'm kind of crazy, you know. Like,
yeah.
Want to rip someone's head off or something like that.
Yeah. So you get like it's a little bit of a war underneath because you're playing some big guys and you got to move some people around underneath the basket.
Yeah.
So you got to get into that time frame or that mind frame. Now, you know, I was watching you play against this Chester teams up in the Penwood team and the Chester team in the state semis and the finals. And, you know, these are big guys that could jump through the roof.
Yeah.
And so what was your thoughts there, George? What were you trying to do? How were you trying to deal with them?
Well, I mean, for the Oakmont kid for Penwood, I mean, obviously I'm just trying to stay in front of him because he's just 3 times my size because they're going to Penn State for football and everything like that. But, I mean, just trying to stay in front of them and, you know, play as physical as possible because, I mean, teams like that really don't like to play a physical game. It's more finesse for them. So, and, you know, you just want to make sure, like, he knows you're there and try to be kind of like a pest. So.
Were they talking smack?
Yeah, but I didn't talk smack to that kid because obviously he tossed me like 7 times that game. I came home with like black eyes and stuff like that.
He was a strong boy.
He was a moose.
He was strong. Ev, how about, were they talking some smack to you?
Yeah, they were a lot.
In the Penwood game?
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. So what was going on? What was the jibber jabber going on there?
I forget how it started. I think I was just to get in that one kid's head who was going to West Virginia. He missed a couple shots or had some turnovers, and I was saying like he wasn't a D1 player or whatever. then it just kind of turned into more motivation for me.
So did he challenge you? Did he ask you what you were?
Yeah, he asked where I was going for basketball. I told him that I might be going to West Virginia to play some intramural basketball.
I would have liked to have seen his face when he heard that one.
I didn't know what to say.
Yeah, you floored him. Oh my! Now, George, as I said, you seem to have a lot of fun on the floor and very emotional. Can you do that with your coaches?
Yeah, absolutely.
When? How?
Usually when like there's tension or something, I always like to crack a joke or just voice my opinion a little bit more just by saying just some idiotic joke, and like some like the teammates will think it's funny, and then like the coach will kind of like take it 2 steps back before he goes forward again. So I mean, I've had Coach David for 3 years, so I know when's the right time and when's not.
To be able to like go there.
Crack a joke, yeah.
Yeah, yeah. Ev, who's had influence on you, individually, competitive-wise?
Definitely my dad, just because he's taught me from when I was young to play basketball, and I know he coached me and George's dad also coached us travel basketball. They kind of taught us the fundamentals like help defense and stuff, and also he's helped me as a person.
Yeah.
And just whenever I've needed advice for basketball or whatever, he's always there. He gives me the right advice.
Well, Ev, I know your dad, and you're pretty lucky to have a dad like that.
Mm-hmm.
There's no doubt about it. And George, same thing. Who's been your influences?
Well, I'd have to say my dad and my grandpap. My grandpap always got on my case to shoot and work hard, and I mean all that. He also changed my shot. I used to shoot lefty, and then he changed it to righty. Like,
What hand are you?
I don't know.
You think you're ambidextrous?
Yeah, I do a lot of stuff different hands, but I
So
mean,
you think you don't know what you are?
I
You're not
mean-
left or you're not right?
nah,
You're either.
yeah,
Wow.
yeah, and then my dad definitely, because he he played college basketball, so he definitely showed me how to play the game right. And I mean, from hearing stories about him, he definitely was an emotional player and scrappy like I was. And and Mr. Eaton, of course, because he was my travel coach, and Big Jim's a good dude.
Yeah, yeah. So you sounds like you played like your dad,
Yeah,
but he was a little taller.
a little taller. Yeah,
Yeah, he's a big boy.
yeah, he was.
Now, besides the championships, Evan, what's been the highlight really of your basketball career, would you say, in Mount Lebanon?
I think probably this year, just like traveling with the team, I know we went to Missouri, all the bus rides and stuff. I thought we really meshed as a team, had great team chemistry, and whenever you have that with your teammates, it's always 10 times as fun. And just hanging out with them, like team dinners and stuff, that was definitely the highlight.
Yeah. How about you, George?
Well, I'd have to say the senior year too. I mean, not because I played a lot and I started, but also because of the bonding, and we had a bunch of good guys on the team, and we all meshed. I mean, there'd be fights, but I mean, it'd always end up in us being friends, and we always ended up playing for friendship. So, yeah.
Now, I know you had some college coaches recruiting you to play college basketball. Talk about that process.
It kind of goes back to the confidence, I'd probably say, just because it kind of, after I learned that all the coaches were interested in me, it did help out my confidence for my senior year. And it's kind of overwhelming for a while. That's why I tried to kind of put it out of my head until the end of our basketball season. But it's definitely a long but fun process.
But how hard was it to put out of your head when you had coaches waiting for you after the game to see you?
Not so much, because I mean a lot of the coaches were understanding and didn't really say a whole lot about when you're going to come visit or stuff like that. They'd kind of just focus on how I played or what I can do to get better.
Yeah, yeah. So was it? I'm assuming it was kind of flattering to see that.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. Is that something that could get to your head?
Yeah, I'm sure it definitely could. I thought I did a pretty good job of focusing on our team and our season now.
Yeah, no doubt about it. George, who would you say was maybe one of the best teams you played this year? Some of the best teams you played.
This year, I'd definitely have to say Penwood and Chester, just because of the fact that the style of basketball and their basketball is our football, and I mean it's a whole different sport over there. And beating Penwood and playing Chester to overtime is just great accomplishment. Seeing athletes like that is, but I would have to say the two best teams.
So what athletes that you played against, what players are going to stick out in your mind?
Well, definitely the Joshua Selby from, I don't know, what school did you play for?
Lake Clifton.
Yeah, Lake Clifton. When we played him in the Morgantown shootout, he was, top 5, top 10 recruit in the nation at the time, and he threw down a pretty hard dunk, which, was pretty impressive. So I'd have to say he's going to be like the most player I watch.
Evan, how did you make your college decision? What did it come down to? How did you decide? What was it down to? What schools?
It was pretty much, in the end, it was down to Penn State, Barron, and West Virginia. And it basically, because both of them offered the education that I wanted and offered the major that I wanted. And it just came down to whether I wanted to play basketball. And I think this year, bonding with the team kind of made me realize that I'd missed out a lot. And it's going to be that much better because I'll have 4 years with my teammates in college. And that definitely changed my mind that I did want to play basketball.
So you were really, your decision, you had 2 schools, and really it come down to, do I want 2 good schools? Do I want to play basketball, or do I just want to go to school?
Mm-hmm.
So was that what made your decision?
Yeah.
And when did you come to that decision?
It
Was it during the season, after the season?
was probably 2 or 3 weeks after the season. I was definite. After the season, I was definitely leaning towards playing basketball. But I went down for a visit to Penn State Barron, I think 2 weeks after the season. And I think 2 or 3 days later, I called the coach. I told him that that's where I wanted to be.
Well, what fun you had your senior year.
Yeah.
Playing in those big venues. I mean, in all those front of those big crowds. I could see how you'd want to continue to do that.
Mm-hmm.
George, how about you? What's your college decision, and where does that come from?
Well, I'm playing baseball at a school called Mount Aloysius. It's like up by IUP.
And how'd you get to that?
Well, I went to a bunch of showcases for baseball and played AAU to a certain point, and then I just decided that I love the game so much that I'm not ready to let it go. And I mean, I've had a lot of fun with the travel teams, obviously, but also high school as well. And I just like to pitch, and hopefully it carries on in college.
Ev, you're about to graduate now, Mount Lebanon High School. You've had a really successful career, both academically and in sports. So let's just say that there's some kids watching this interview, and they're 7th grade, 8th grade kids, boys, girls, whatever, and they want to go into high school and play, say, high school basketball and try to do okay in school and have some fun. What advice would you give them, Ev?
More than anything, I'd probably say you can do anything you set your mind to, and most importantly, you just have to have confidence in yourself and your abilities, and just have self-discipline, or enough self-discipline to work on them, and don't let anybody else tell you that you can't do it.
Yeah, that's great advice. That's really great advice. And how about you, George? What would you tell some young kids coming up into the high school how to really have a great high school career, both academic, sports, social?
Oh, I'd have to say have fun with it. Also, be confident in yourself. I mean, nothing's impossible if you put your mind to it and try hard. I mean, you gotta work hard to succeed at certain things. Actually everything, but those are the main things.
Yeah. Well, I want to thank you both for coming and sharing some time with us. Both of you had a really special senior year. I mean, to get to the state final, as we know, around here is no picnic. And you got to climb one heck of a ladder. And I know your coaching staff and everybody around the Mount Lebanon basketball community thought it was fantastic to have 2 teams in the state final up at Penn State University. It was just a wonderful 2 days, and for you to get that close, everybody's really proud of both of you, your team, your coaches, and we just thought you both had really wonderful senior years. So I want to congratulate you on that, your high school careers. I also want to wish you both the best of luck as you go off into your college careers. It should be some of the best times in your life. You're going to be on your own. You're going to be able to do what you want to do, but you got some goals in front of you. And so it's going to be a challenge, but it's going to be fun, and I want to wish both of you the best of luck.
Thank you.
Also joining us from the Mount Lebanon High School basketball team are a senior and a sophomore. Next to me is a guy that Assistant Athletic Director Russ Jones said seems like he's been here for 10 years. And the reason is because he's played so many big games for so many years and started as a freshman. Please let me introduce Paul Lang. Paul, it's great to have you here.
Thanks, Mr. Adams.
And next to Paul is a sophomore who started this year on the team that went all the way to the state championship. Please let me introduce, he also plays football and did play some baseball. Please let me introduce Tyler Roth. Tyler, it's great to have you here.
Thank you for having me.
So, Paul, football and basketball, can you even kind of quantify the difference of what it's like to play both sports? I mean, off the field, on the field, what's the general differences that you can put into words?
Well, one thing I like about both of them is how they're both really popular sports for our school and our divisions. So we always get a lot of people at our games and stuff. But surprisingly, the conditioning is a lot different for football and basketball. I mean, in the off season, I'll lift and run, and that'll help me for basketball. But transitioning from football to basketball is a lot harder than you'd think.
In what way?
Usually the first week or 2 after football season, I'll jump in the basketball, and it's really hard to I won't be in shape yet because it's constant running up and down the court. So football shape is a lot different than basketball.
Yeah, Tyler, how's the difference for you? How can you describe it?
I think the biggest difference for me is, I don't know why it's weird, but every football game I've ever played in, I've always been nervous for. The only sport I get nervous for is football. Like, I don't get nervous for basketball games or anything like that. And I think it's a little different mindset. Like, basketball, you kind of have to be poised. You have to stay calm when whatever you're doing. In football, you kind of just have to go nuts and react instead of thinking so much about what you're doing.
So I'm wondering about that nervous. It's interesting you say that because I interviewed some football players over the years here. And one of the things they had said that really stuck out to me, because I didn't play high school football, was that it was nerve-wracking before the game. Yeah. And is it nerve-wracking or nervous? Where do you think that comes from? Why do you think you're nervous? And I'll tell you what they said, and I'm curious of what you said.
I just think I always just want to get out there and just get the game going, get some plays under your belt, get knocked around a little bit a couple times, and then, you calm down a little bit.
Yeah.
But, I don't know why. It's just you just wait, and anticipating, going out there in front of all these people and knocking somebody around, I guess.
Yeah, and what they had said was that, it's a violent game. You got to hit people. So, you got to get prepared for that. It's not that you're just going to go and do that every day. And one of the football players was a punt returner, and he was smaller, but he was fast. And he said, it's totally nerve-wracking. I'm like, why? He goes, because these guys want to kill me. So do you think that goes into it a little bit for you?
Yeah, I think, the position you play and, what you're doing is a little more nerve-wracking. I couldn't think of, a situation, but that depends on it a lot.
Yeah. Paul, you've started since a freshman on the basketball team, and you had a great football career, basketball career. And then this year, you come into this year, and you had just come off a championship the year before, and you got this scholarship to Michigan State, And I mean, you know, I wonder, did you still have the same motivation? Was it easy to stay motivated, or did you feel like you had something accomplished, and was it a little different for you?
Well, I was definitely still motivated. Like I didn't want to settle for anything less than we had last year. I didn't want to affect my teammates and because of my personal accomplishments. So, like early on in the season, I wanted to make sure the whole team knew like I was in for the long run and how I wanted to win championships, and they all understood that, and I made sure that coach understood that too. So
You told him.
yeah, I talked to him about it because he wanted to make sure that I wasn't distracted from, especially like my scholarship. That was a big thing because like halfway in the season I had to take my official visit, but like surprisingly it didn't affect my vision at all for the team. Like I had a lot going on. Like signing day was the middle of the season, my official visit, coaches coming through, but it really didn't affect me.
That's great. Yeah, it would easily be distracting, I would think. Tyler, you know, you've played competitive basketball your whole life, among other things, all these other sports you play. And the year before this, your freshman year, you were hurt and you were out for the season. I guess you got hurt in football.
Yep.
What was that like? What did you learn from that?
I think it was really hard. It was probably one of the hardest things that has happened to me. Like I went through, you know, 7th, 8th grade, you know, all those years looking forward to getting to high school basketball. You go to all the games and you see Paul play, you see like all the people there, all the students there, and you go through excited to play, and then you know, have this injury and you're out for the season. And it was really hard, but you know, all my coaches, all my teammates, you know, kept saying, you know, I worked every day. I was at practice every day, shooting, doing all that kind of stuff to get better for next season so I could help the team. And I think it ended up helping me a lot. Because, I mean, I was an okay shooter coming into high school, but I shot every day at practice while everyone else was working. I just shot, and obviously it helped me a lot this year in what we did. So I think I learned, you know, just to keep working even if you're down and do what you can do. Like, stay with the positives and do what you can when you're down.
Does it give you any appreciation for when you are healthy?
Yeah, it does. Because, I mean, some people don't understand what it's like to have to sit out a whole year and, you know, feel like you can help the team, but you have to sit on the side and watch them. So, I mean, it was hard, but fortunately it was my freshman year and not my senior year.
Right. You know, we all take our health for granted until we don't have it.
Yep.
Now, Paul, you know, I sometimes, since I played long time ago in the Stone Ages, you know, sometimes I look at basketball today versus basketball back in the day. And one of the things I notice is that kids, boys and girls, have better left hands or off hands at earlier ages because they're being taught that, and we didn't have that. We were just out there playing, and we didn't have that. And the reason I bring this up is because I feel like you have one of the best left hands I've ever seen on a basketball court. I mean, when you go with your left hand, if someone didn't know you, they might think you're left-handed. Mm-hmm. And so how did you develop that? I'm just kind of curious because it seems so natural.
Well, I'm not like set righty or lefty because like I do a lot of things differently. Like I do most of my sports right-handed. Like I'll throw righty, bat righty, shoot righty, obviously, and then but I write lefty, eat lefty, kick lefty. So I'm kind of all over the place. So it could be a result of that, but also I've just always felt pretty comfortable. Like when I was young, I would when I played when I was in like kindergarten, I used to practice with my brother's 3rd grade team at this Catholic school in Washington. So I'd practice with my brother's team for a couple of years, and I would really work on my ball handling, like right hand and left hand, so it could help me in the future. And then I just got really comfortable with my left hand and usually use it more than my right on a drive.
Yeah. Now, Tyler, You know, I was able to watch you quite a bit as a young basketball player, and you were a guy that would, you know, catch the ball, say at the foul line, turn, and you would dribble penetrate to the basket, and you would really attack the rim. Now this year, you played kind of the two-guard role, more of the spot-up shooter, and I didn't really see you dribble penetrate this year. Like, I don't even remember a time that you did. Now, was that something by design? Is that something you want to add to your game? And how did that all happen?
Well, that's what I've really been working on this summer, actually, with my game, is I need to be able to dribble penetrate and finish at the rim. Because, I mean, last year, I guess my role kind of on the team was as shooter, but, I mean, it didn't have to be. I could have, you know, drove to the hoop. And I think my year out kind of, it might have changed that, because I always shot, you know, I couldn't really do, you know, work on that kind of stuff. And you'd be surprised, like, it was pretty much, this year was pretty much like my freshman year. Coach always says that like how much faster the game is. Like going from 8th grade, everything closes down, everyone's a lot longer. Like at the beginning of the season, I'd try to drive or something like that, and I'd pretty much get it stolen almost every single time. I mean, and it just comes with, you know, repetition, getting used to the speed of the game, and that's what I really need to work on for next year.
Yeah, that's a great point. You know, you're taking such a big leap from 8th grade to playing against seniors. And, you know, yeah, when you do go to the basket, it's going to be a different situation there. So
Yeah.
that's a great point. Now, Paul, you know, you've played 2 sports, been extraordinarily successful in both during your high school career. And you go to a high school that's not easy academically, and then there's social life. So for kids coming up that want to be an athlete and want to do well in school and want to have a good high school experience, what do you have to say to them?
Well, one main thing is to really manage your time and don't let the social life affect your goals, because I mean, our high school is extremely competitive, not just in athletics but also academics. So like one thing I would say is just manage your time where you can work on both your academics and athletics, or whatever club you're in, to be the best you can. And then one thing that I think really works is write down your goals and like put a little checkbox next to them. So if you accomplish them, you can check it off, and then just work really hard to accomplish the goals.
Where did that come from?
I heard it a while ago in middle school, and I never actually did it really until like halfway through high school, but individually. But one thing that Coach David does is for the team, we did this freshman year all the way through for me. We write down our goals, for individual goals for the team goals, and your individual goals for school. Write them down on a card and then tape them on our locker. So I guess I also learned it from that.
So team goals, but also individual goals, like what you're going to do, points and all that kind of stuff?
Yeah, so you can set goals such as like rebounding and anything you want to accomplish.
Tyler, you were in some pressure situations. What was the biggest shot you ever made this year, I think?
I would say either the state semifinal or the state final game. I hit a 3 to tie. I think it was like inside of a minute left in the semifinal game, and then with like a minute and a half left with the state final game, it was definitely one of those 2 shots. I think I hit like 1 or 2 other pretty big ones during the season, but those were definitely by far just the game and everything were the biggest shots I've ever hit.
Well, that shot in the semifinal. Now that's a game against Penwood, who totally blew Mount Lebanon High School out of the gym a couple of years prior to that. I mean, and now this is a team that, you know, you just covered, you made up so much ground, and you come down to the last minute, and I think you were down 3, and you took that 3-point shot, and that you missed that shot, the game's over in the semifinal. And I think that was unbelievably big. Now, when Did you even realize how big that shot was when you were catching and letting it go? What was going through your mind?
I knew we were down 3, but I knew we didn't have to take a 3 because there was still a lot of time left on the clock. I just knew we needed points, but all I remember is George got the ball at like the high post, and my guy went down to help on him, and I slid kind of like to, I think it was like my left a little bit, and George found me, and I was wide open, and I just decided to take it, and it went in, even though I'd missed every shot prior to that in the game.
Well, Coach David says keep shooting, right?
Yep, that's what he
Yeah.
always says.
When you let it go like that, do you know it's know it's going to go in, or do you know it feels good, or how does that work?
When I catch, you're always told to think everyone's going in, but you can tell. I guess when you release it, you can tell which ones are going to be way off and which ones are going to go in, and it felt good from the release, and fortunately, it just ended up going in.
Yeah, yeah. Now, Paul, you've had a long basketball career at Mount Lebanon, 4 years playing. Can you even go back to think of some of the best teams you played against and best players you've played against?
Yeah. Well, I know my freshman year, our last game of the season, we played McKeesport, and they were #1, the WPIAL one of the top teams in the state. And it was the last game before playoffs, and we weren't in it. So we actually beat them. I think it was like 66-62 or something. And I mean, freshman year, that was awesome because we had a really down year. But other than that, last year when we played in Miami, we played Montverde Academy, and they won the Nike Invitational National Tournament last year. They were amazing. We ended up beating them, and then also Chester, so
Yeah.
and Penwood, of course.
Yeah.
All those teams.
Yeah, absolutely. Do any players stick out that were like a real handful to you?
Yeah, Josh Selby from I forget what team. He's playing at Kansas now. I didn't have to guard him, fortunately, but
How about anyone you've guarded? Does anyone stick out to you that was
yeah,
like a trouble?
I mean, George also guarded him too, but the kid from Penwood, the 6'8" kid that's going to Penn State for football, he was bigger than any kid in the WPIAL and probably one of the biggest in the state. So
Yeah, George said that kid threw him around.
yeah, we put George on him more than I was on him. So
Now, Tyler, you talk about going from 8th grade to playing high school basketball, such a huge transition. But then on top of that, Tyler, you're now on a team that's very successful, going deep into the WPL playoffs, going all the way to the state championship games game. How did you handle that pressure? Because all of a sudden you're under some big time lights and stakes and scrutiny. How did you handle that?
I think playing high school football helped a lot because it's a lot of the same thing, going through the whole season, going through the playoffs, being one of the top teams helps. And then having guys like Paul, Luke, George, Evan, who have all been there and done that, there to calm you down. When you're having a bad game or you miss a shot, they're always there to say, keep shooting or keep going. And then, I mean, we played in all those big games up till that too, going into the state championship game. We've already played most of the best teams in the WPIAL with a ton of fans there. So, I mean, it wasn't that big of a difference.
But
for
you're
me.
saying
It was just the same.
You don't get nervous for basketball games. You get nervous for football games.
I wasn't nervous really
Even
for the
state college, you weren't nervous.
I wasn't.
Yeah.
I don't know why. I get so much more nervous for football games.
Yeah.
I don't get nervous for
That's interesting.
basketball games.
Now, Paul, you've had 4 years to play in front of the Devil's Den. What's it like playing in front of the Devil's Den, and does it impact you at all?
yeah, it's awesome to play in front of them because they provide a lot of entertainment. Like, even though I'm focused on the game, I still hear a lot of the stuff that they're saying. And when there's a huge crowd, a huge Devil's Den, it's really amazing because like the noise they provide for us and just the overall support is just awesome.
How about pregame? Is that fun pregame when they're playing some good tunes?
Yeah, that's actually when I was in like 8th grade in middle school. That's actually one of the things I really look forward to. I don't know why, but it's just like running out with the Devil's Den there is really a lot of fun.
You know, Paul, I do the games, and the games that really stick out in my mind are St. Clair games. When St. Clair comes to Mount Lebanon, and they're all running out on the court and they're playing the music, and the place is rocking.
Yeah.
And I'm thinking, how great is that? Sometimes I'm standing next to Leah Klein and some other people. I'm like, how good is this? Look at this. I mean, who wouldn't want to be here? I mean, do you feel that way sometimes?
Yeah. I mean, that's actually one of the games I've been looking forward to since I was really young, playing against Upper St. Clair, because the atmosphere you can't really beat in high school sports. So, especially, I mean, I love playing at our gym, but running out to beach night is, you can't really beat that.
And beach night is at Upper St.
Yeah.
Clair, and they only do that, I understand, for Mount Lebanon.
Mm-hmm.
And that's another really interesting place to play at Upper St. Clair.
Yeah.
Yeah. Tyler, how about you? You go from 8th grade and travel basketball. Now you're up and you got big crowds and the music's banging and Devil's Den's going. How does that affect you?
You try not to let it affect you the way you play at all, but you look forward to it. You go to all the games when you're older, 7th and 8th grade, and you're like, wow, next year, like in a couple years, this will be me. Like same with Paul. It's weird, but you look forward to like running out, like slapping fives with everyone in the Devil's Den, and then going out and warming up. And it's just the biggest thrill rush ever. Certainly the St. Clair games, because everyone's there. I mean, I remember St. Clair student section was absolutely huge, and everyone was so mad because they stormed our court after they beat us at home. So I mean, I was just so hyped for that game, and it was a lot of fun.
Yeah, that is. Now, Paul, we talked a little bit about the Penwood game. Penwood, 2 years ago, up at Big Spring High School in the middle of who knows where it was. I was there, and it was just a total mismatch. They just were so good, and I'm not sure Mount Lebanon ever played a team like that, they're so deep, so athletics, everything. And they just blew your team out of the gym. Well, fast forward 2 years later, and you're playing them in the state semifinal. And not only do you compete with them, you beat them. What was that like for you? Because you were on both of those teams.
Yeah.
Played both of those games.
I mean, in the back of my mind, I had that the vision of my sophomore year when we played them and they killed us, and I didn't want that to affect me. So, like, I had the mindset going in that we could beat them and we could beat anybody. Like, staying positive, especially because the whole year I was very confident with our team. Like, we had great unity, weren't selfish at all. So, I knew we could go in and beat them, but it was going to be a dogfight, which it was. It took the whole game and more. But after that, when we won that, it was probably better than any celebration I've had for any game. Even winning the Whippeal Championship is up there. I felt like we were representing Pittsburgh too. Like, we were getting like a 4-1-2 chant after. It was awesome.
Yeah, you know what? It's funny because, the WPL Championship is special, and that's something you put the banner up, and that'll always be there. But I get what you're saying, because you climbed such a big mountain to beat that team. Mm-hmm. And you had to improve so much to get there as a team, as coaches, team players, everybody. And after that game, I think that was the most joy I've ever seen around a Mount Lebanon High School boys aftermath of a basketball game.
Yeah, definitely.
Yeah, and the reason it was is because what happened a couple years ago, and I really think that team walked in that gym thinking, I'm glad it's Mount Lebanon.
Yeah. Because
we didn't beat them 2 years ago, we crushed them.
Yeah.
And so to walk out of there and beat them was just, it's interesting you say that was even more than WPL Championship, because I totally get that. Now, Tyler, you know, you grow up playing or you grow up playing youth sports, but now you're a high school basketball player. Can you describe to someone that maybe will never do that, or that wants to do that, what's it like to be out there playing?
It's just the biggest thrill rush you could ever imagine. It's just total adrenaline the whole time, and I mean, it's the best feeling ever. It's one of the reasons people like to do it so much. I mean, running out there on the court, warming up in front of the Devil's Den, you know, with another team across that you gotta beat. It's the biggest thrill ever. I mean, it's the only way I can think of describing it.
And it's really hard to do. I mean, there's not that many kids on the team, and there's only 5 that can play, and you got to really have something to be able to get on that court. So, you know, that's why I asked the question, because not everybody's going to be able to get there. But it is, and the thing, I think the difference in football, at least for me, is that you're out there with helmets on and you're pretty far removed from the crowd. High school basketball, they're right on top of you, and your face is right in front of everyone. If you're upset, mad, happy, whatever, they see it all.
Yeah.
You can't hide anything. So it's really kind of special. Paul, you know, you went to the state final, and this was the first time on my Lebanon boys basketball team ever made the state final. You know, you just had 4 years of varsity basketball, and you know, the first year was a tough year, but then you went on this climb and won the WPL. Now you're sitting in the state championship game at the Bryce Jordan Center. You know, what was it like for you before that game and after that game, knowing that this was going to be, you're going to go out playing for the state championship?
Well, personally, I was thinking how, like, this is the best way I could go out, especially, like, every team in the state and every state has to end losing, like most teams except for the state championship. So, like, I was thinking how this could be the best ending ever, and I could end on a win leaving Mount Lebanon. But, I mean, I'm not going to take away from what we did, though. I mean, obviously, it's a great accomplishment just to make it there, and we overcame a lot, and it was just an awesome experience. Like, before the game, like, staying over at Penn State, just driving around, seeing the campus, and just I felt like I was waiting for days to play that game, but like the day before, and it was really long, especially because we were the last game and we watched all the teams play before us. So, I mean, it was tough.
Was playing at the Bryce Jordan Center intimidating at all?
Not really. I was a little nervous to see what it was like, but when we ran out, it was my first time on the court, and it was so much brighter than I thought it would be. Like,
really?
I feel like I could barely see the fans around it. Like, we were in the spotlight, and I mean, the court was the same size that we played on, same size, same height hoop. So, I mean, it was all the same.
Just as guys that you play against were like some real athletes.
Yeah, nothing we've seen.
Yeah, in a while. But so Tyler, your role now. Now you're moving forward. Now you're going to be a rising junior. You're going to be playing football. You're going to be playing basketball. What's your role? Do you see as a football player and as a basketball player looking forward?
First of all, with football, I'd say I'd still want to be the corner, and I'd like to help my team on offense somehow. You know, if it's quarterback, if it's wide receiver, if it's anywhere, I just like to help the team. Anywhere I can, I'll just do whatever the team needs me to do. And then for basketball this year, I definitely think I need to work on getting to the basket more than shooting, and I think I need to take a bigger role when it comes to scoring, because we're losing Paul and Evan, our 2 biggest scorers. So we're going to need some guys to step up and take over for those 2 guys and score a little more and do a little more for the team. Be a bigger leader in both.
Gotcha. So Paul, where are you going? What are you going to be majoring in? How do you see your future?
All right, well, next year, actually I leave July 3rd. I'm going to Michigan State, and I'll be playing football there. Camp will start mid-August, but I plan on majoring in, not exactly sure. I'm going in undecided, but most likely take a business route, maybe finance, or supply chain management, but I have to really look into it before I make a final decision.
Yeah, yeah. And Tyler, how about you? You're going in your junior year. You're gonna have to start to look at SATs and think about colleges. I mean, do you even have any visions of what you'd like to go in a direction?
Well, in college, the first thing is I definitely want to play a sport, but I think I'm leaning towards engineering actually for college. But I mean, it's a long way away, and that could change very easily. I just am looking forward to getting through junior year.
Where does that come from, engineering?
I'm a good math science person, and I've always really liked math and science, and they kind of come easy to me, and I kind of like the problem solving part of like engineering.
Well, Tyler, thanks for coming by today. I really am glad that you could come and share some time with us. You know, you've had a really special sports career up to this point, and I think maybe the best is yet to come for you. And, you know, my wishes for you are that you stay healthy and you just have a great junior and senior year. So again, thank you for coming, and congratulations on your year, and best wishes to you in the future.
Thank you, Mr. Adams.
And Paul, you know, it's been a real pleasure watching you play for 4 years, because I go to football games, I go to basketball games. I'm a little more tied into the basketball games. But Paul, you've been just a special player. But I think as much as the player, the good player that you've been, and the really valuable player, is just you're also a really nice young man. And I think that that's maybe more important. So I just want to say that I've really enjoyed watching you. You've done just some real special things at Mount Lebanon, and I have nothing but the best wishes for your health and for your happiness in the future. And thank you for coming by and sharing with us.
Thanks, Mr. Adams. Appreciate it.
You're welcome. You're welcome. You know, and I hope you enjoyed watching Mount Lebanon boys basketball team interview. This team did something they've never done in the past. They won to the state championship. And it is so hard to do that at the Quad A level. It's just so hard. And they really played Chester so well as big underdogs. And Chester really had everything they could handle. You know, the Mount Lebanon High School basketball team, both boys and girls, the programs are just flying high. They're winning championships, they're setting records, they're making history, and it's really fun to go watch, and I hope you guys will go to watch them in the future, because these are a bunch of special student athletes, boys and girls. I just want to encourage you to please be an organ donor and give the gift of life. It's a gift that keeps on giving. And I want to thank you for watching. I'm your host, Lee Adams. Take care.